Hello, everybody. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is So I'm Watching Barry, Season 4, Episode 8. Wow.
Wow.
This was the series finale. So good. Yeah. I mean, so good, though.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I mean, I can't imagine we're going to talk a lot because how many times do you really want us to just sit here and say how good we thought it was?
Right, I mean.
It was fantastic. We picked up basically immediately where we left off. Barry goes to get some guns. Hank calls Fuchs to come to the office because he's got Sally and John, and he's, like, luring Barry there. Fuchs actually didn't play ball for a minute. And then he was like, once he saw that he had a son, he was like, yeah, I'll be there. So Fuchs and his whole team show up, and he basically, he was like, okay, he was gonna do it. He was gonna, like, wait for Barry, but he made them bring John out. And so Sally and John were both out there. And then he was like, or how about this? If you just admit you killed Cristobal, I'll leave and you'll never hear from me again. I am a little confused about why he wanted that so badly.
Because
just so he would admit that they're the same?
Yes.
Okay.
I think.
I'm still like, what does Hank mean to Fuchs? Like, almost nothing.
But I think that's why it's so interesting to demand that, because it's so out of nowhere. Like, why?
Yeah.
What does this mean for you? But it's that I just feel like that is a huge part of who Fuchs is as a person. Like, he picks the weird shit for it to mean something.
Sure. Yeah, he has done that before. You're right. It was just, I mean, it was a fantastic scene. Yeah. Stephen Root and Anthony Carrigan going up against each other, amazing. And I did love multiple times in this episode, there just was like a close-up or an extreme close-up on Anthony Carrigan's face while he was emoting or delivering a line. He is so amazing. I cannot wait for what he does next. This is really the first thing I ever saw him in.
Same.
And I am going to be there forever.
Yep.
I mean, he's just so fan. And you haven't, I mean, there's no real reason to watch it because it's just sort of stupid, but he is so hilarious in the third Bill and Ted movie. I mean, so funny. Hank does break down and he's like, he was the love of my life, which Fuchs did seem to already know that. He did not seem surprised. And so he was like, I didn't want it to happen that way and all kinds of stuff. And then he got angry instead. And he was like, forget it. You can't have anything. And Fuchs just shot him.
Yep. Right
in the chest. And then everyone else died. But I thought it was interesting that Fuchs dove on top of John. Like, Fuchs was the one that was like...
Oh, that made 100% sense to me. Because, obviously...
I liked it.
Me too. I mean, him and Barry's relationship is so weird because it was very groomy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for violence, but...
Yes. But still grooming.
Yeah.
But there is a strange fatherly, mentorly love there.
So I do kind of feel like he looked at John and was like, that's my grandson.
Yes.
Like, I can't...
100%.
I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
So he did save him, and Sally did survive. She ran behind a pillar, but, like, all of the dudes, all the Chechens and all of Fuchs's guys are dead. So he takes John outside and then just gives him to Barry and runs away. Unbelievable. And then Hank dies clutching the hand of the Cristobal statue.
I felt really... He was very scared to die.
He was super scared to die. And also, if I had, like, literally one complaint about this episode, or I guess the final season as a whole, and it's, like, so minor because everything else was really good, but I really desperately wanted Barry and Hank to have one more scene together. Like, even if Barry was the one to shoot Hank, you know, I needed them to have one more scene together. But that's it. That's my biggest complaint. Sally also gets away, but we don't really see anything of, like, how that... I mean, everyone's dead, so she presumably just walks out of there. And what is... Well, Barry goes to Kusno's place. Oh, no, it's after. So they go to a motel. Barry, Sally, and John find each other, and they go to a motel. And they're there, and Sally is like, you need to turn yourself in. Oh, God, and I had forgotten okay, I sort of was cool with whatever happened to Barry because he kept on spouting Jesus stuff. And I was like, do I hate Barry now?
It's because it's convenient. Because people like Barry.
It's very like, well, if I just go to confession, it's fine. And it's like,
people like Barry tend to find religion when they need it, which is like asterisk. Like sometimes they do, sometimes whatever.
But it's like when they're craving justification,
right? Yeah. Which is like when we saw him surfing the podcast until he found the right one. Yeah, and so just praying to God to absolve you of everything. That's not how it works.
Yeah,
like. Yes, absolutely. Like, when you get to heaven, you are going to be sitting at the table with whores and murderers and thieves and whatever.
Yeah.
But that's because they did the real work. You can't just be like, I'm sorry, okay, love you, bye. And it's just like, it's done.
I mean, at the very least, you should try to go to like actual confession or something. But also,
but even that, it's just like, okay, you are going to have to spend the rest of your life saying Hail Mary and an Our Father and millions acts of contrition.
But even to that effect, it doesn't appear that Barry is subscribing to Catholicism. No. It's like weird kind of fringe evangelical Christianity.
It's probably, probably non-denominational, if anything, because of the like big mega churches and like especially because they were watching it online.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with that is the only way to absolve yourself is exactly what Sally said. The only way you can redeem yourself is taking responsibility and then spend the rest of your life atoning for those sins.
So that's
the way you do it, guys.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so she basically is like, I saw Gene. He's going to go to prison for Janice's murder, which he didn't commit. Like, you need to turn yourself in. And he's like, no, I was prepared to die tonight. And because I didn't, it means I was redeemed.
And that's when I like screamed at the TV and I was like, so you could turn yourself in.
Exactly.
So you could do the right thing.
So you could take the responsibility.
Yes. Yeah. And so because he did not do that, then he was smoked.
Yeah. So... he wakes up in the morning and Sally has taken John with a quickness away. And
there are Sally and John signs holes in the walls.
So they are gone and he thinks that they're at Jean's. So he goes to Jean's and Tom is there about to leave him there in the dust.
Yeah.
In the dust. And Barry comes in and he talks to Tom for like a little while and he just is like, you haven't seen my wife or my son, they're nowhere, like you haven't seen them. And meanwhile, in his room, Jean is at first looking at all of the articles that are out about him getting like basically a suspect for Janice's murder. Or like at least that he manipulated Barry into it.
Well, the Attorney General and Jim Moss held a press conference and they're saying that Gene is the mastermind behind everything and that he manipulated Barry to do all this stuff. And I'm just like, you all have met Gene Cousineau, right? We're all on the same page. That man could manipulate himself out of a paper bag.
I don't know. From like a poetic irony or like a dramatic irony place, I love it because he really was truly a victim of his own meddling.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this is the Greek tragedy part of it. So because of his own hubris, it was the undoing of him.
Which is like incredible. And so he's reading all these articles and then he sees again the gun from Rip Torn and he goes to get it. And the whole time you kind of think he's going to kill himself because he can't sort of live with, going to prison or whatever. I mean, Henry Winkler is so old. He won't be in prison that long. But then he like hears Barry and then he shoots Barry in the chest, like the shoulder, and he like falls back onto the chair and he looks at Jean and says, wow. And then Jean shoots him right in the head. Literally amazing. I mean, so good. So fantastic. And then Jean just sits on the couch and you can hear Tom in the background calling 911 for an ambulance, but like, come on.
Yeah.
And then we cut to a less determined time in the future. I would say like less than 10 years because that kid's in high school probably.
Yeah.
It's Jaden Martell playing like grown up, like high school John. And Sally is the theater director wherever they are living. Somewhere cold. So I assume like New England. They went far probably. And I couldn't tell what play they were putting on.
Our Town.
Was it Our Town? Was there like a playbill?
No, the Sally and the AP history guy were talking about.
He talked about, okay.
Yeah.
He was kind of attractive.
Yeah.
so she's doing amazing. She seems to be doing, or well,
amazing.
She's doing amazing.
She is surviving.
She's doing, but I mean,
she's alive.
She's alive. I don't know. I think like just as a human person, she's doing better than she was in Los Angeles. Just like being a person.
I think it's exactly the same.
I don't know. She was so fake in Los Angeles. She doesn't seem as fake.
It's just a different costume she's putting on.
I don't think so. I disagree.
See, I think that's why we saw her face shift in the car. Is because
I think she's lonely.
I think it was her demasking.
I think?
Mm-hmm. I think she doesn't know who she is because it's all these different things that she's put on. And so I think it's just another costume for her to put on. It's something that she needs, but it's like this is not what she envisioned for herself. And so so then to survive it, it's something that she has to put on and then she can take off when she's gone.
Well, the AP history teacher asks her out for a drink.
And she just says no.
And he goes, oh, okay, of course. And then
just right off.
Just leaves. And so then John asks if he can go to his friend's house for the night. And she says, yeah, sure. And I forgot to say, she did tell him earlier in the movie that she was like, your dad's a murderer. Like, that's why we move around, is because we're fugitives and he's a murderer. But I'm not sure how well that stuck, because when he gets to his friend's house, they decide to watch the movie that did end up getting made called The Mask Collector.
Methinks there weren't many other conversations about that. Yeah, so I'm sure he does not have the full thing.
No, for sure
not. And then
not.
he's a kid, and it's like, well, this movie is telling me about my dad. Exactly. And so he's not going to have the media literacy to be like,
Okay, so the movie is terrible.
It's bad. I feel like it was like a Lifetime movie.
Yeah. It was bad on purpose. I really felt that Bill Hader and Alec Berg just wanted to make a terrible, like, scenes from a terrible movie. But it basically paints Gene as the mastermind, like you said, who orchestrated literally all of it and killed Barry as, like, revenge because he was, like, letting everybody know what happened, basically. And at the very end, it's just Jaden Martell's face kind of like crying about his dad being a hero, like in a good way. Like his eyes are watering about his dad being a hero.
Yeah.
And it was clear that Sally had not let him watch the movie on purpose, because his friend Eric was like, you deserve to be able to watch, which I feel both ways about it. But I think what's the most interesting to me is how it's so telling about the, like, Hollywood machine, where, you know, we have been seeing all of this stuff the whole time. And so we know that, yes, Barry is at fault. And even though he is the hero of our show, he is not the hero in real life. And so to watch him be made into a hero when we know it's not true, and to, like, just perpetuate this sort of ridiculous cycle onto his son, I mean, wowzers.
Buried at Arlington National Cemetery with full honors. It's hilarious.
It's so funny.
And Gene is serving life in prison for killing Janice and Barry.
I mean, he did kill Barry.
Yeah, he did. Oh, no, absolutely. But, like, what?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing. It's keeping with the theme of the show, where Barry always seems to manage to get himself out of it despite doing these horrible, horrible things. So then the argument could be made that, like, deep down, who he truly is before, like, Fuchs kind of, like, did this with his brain and his emotions and whatever, that he is truly a good person.
I never thought he was a bad person.
But so then it's like, an argument can be made where Fate is stepping in to be like, well, he did these bad things, but that's not gonna be his legacy.
Maybe.
Like, that's just an interesting way to think of it, because it's like, was he bad guy or bad guy?
Yeah.
So, it's just, I mean, it's just wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the name of the episode. So, I mean, I loved it. I've loved this show the whole time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just unbelievable work. I think we talked about it the last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe, but Bill Hader is going to be directing a horror movie coming up. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. There's nothing on his director. Maybe he's writing it. Regardless, he's working on something else coming up, and I'm very excited for that. So, woof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super good. Definitely check it out.
Yep.
We'll get back to HBO. We're going to do The Gilded Age whenever that happens.
Yeah, whenever.
And
emphasis on whenever.
It just says 2023. And we're going to do the True Detective that's coming out at the end of the year with Jodie Foster. We're very excited about that. So definitely got some more HBO stuff that's in this vein coming up soon. Other than that, just stay tuned. We're going to be bringing some more stuff out all during the summer.
Yep.
Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think. And we'll see you next time.
And we appreciate you for being on this ride with us.
Yes.
We like you so much.
Bye.
Bye.